Well, welcome everyone to this afternoon's professional development session on an overview of the Canvas Learning Management System. I'm Dave Giberson, an old instructional design coordinator from Online Learning Pathways, who's come back to help with these professional development sessions. This is one of our fundamental professional development sessions. Canvas is the heart of our online and web-enhanced education at the San Diego Community College District. It's a massive content management system by type that allows you to put information online for your students, to communicate with your students, to assess your students. It is, again, the core of our efforts at online education, and it's also a tremendous help as a supplement with classes taught in any mode. Classroom-based courses, high-flex courses, hybrid courses, all can make you good use of Canvas. So it's something that we hope that everyone at the district has some familiarity with, and that's the purpose of this general overview. So let's get started with that. So let's get started real far down the rabbit hole. What is Canvas and why would you bother to use it? Well, Canvas is the learning management system provided by and supported by the infrastructure and the people like me at the San Diego Community College District. It provides all sorts of services to faculty. You can share all sorts of instructional information with your students involving text, documents, images, video, and many other types of contents. So there's no need to patronize repro anymore, to run your syllabus off, for instance. You can put it on Canvas. Your students will have 24/7 access to it, and they can't lose it. They also can't claim that they didn't get one. So it cuts out a lot of conversations with students. Canvas also allows you to assess your students online. You can give quizzes, homework assignments, graded discussions through Canvas that students can complete and submit the results to you through Canvas. This can also eliminate a lot of paper and that terror of losing a student's submission. You can't do that if you have them doing their homework through Canvas. And you can use Canvas for this even if you're teaching face-to-face and save yourself a lot of time, and valuable time in the classroom. Canvas also provides numerous communication tools that allow you to keep in touch with your students. Even if you're teaching them face-to-face, you only see them for a certain period of time every week, and you're busy during that time. Canvas gives you another channel to stay in touch with your students, which we all know is one of the critical factors in their academic success. And Canvas also provides you with a grade book where you can automatically record any assessments that are completed in Canvas, but you can also manually enter grades for assessments that are completed in the classroom where they turn them in on paper. You can put the grades in Canvas. Canvas will help you manage and organize those grades. It will provide you with a means to compute your final grade. The gradebook has computational capabilities, and it's also almost the only legal way you can post grades for students so that they can see their grades. And I know people who use Canvas for nothing else, or who used to before the pandemic anyway, and may again, just for the gradebook. So it's a tremendous tool in that regard. The next question is, if you're an employee or a student at the San Diego Community College District, how do you get to Canvas? Well, Canvas is a web-based resource. It's in the cloud. Indeed, it's It's not hosted even on campus. It's hosted by the company Instructure that makes Canvas in a slew of data centers all across the country and all across the world. Canvas is used worldwide and is one of the major players in the learning management system market, and is the one that is the learning management system used by almost all of the California community colleges. To access Canvas at the district, you just need, it's linked to our Online Learning Pathways website. It's linked to the college websites. It shows up in all sorts of places, but you can always get to Canvas just by webbing to sdccd.instructure, name of the company that makes it, .com. If I click on that link, up comes the Canvas login page. Actually, I'm already logged in, aren't I? Let me log out. There we go. There's your Canvas login page, as indicated in the graphic here. So, who can get into Canvas, and how do they do it? All faculty with current teaching assignments automatically have an active Canvas account. It's created automatically when you get your first TAO, and it stays active as long as you've taught within the last semester or two. All matriculated students have access to Canvas. They get an active Canvas account when they sign up, when they register for their first course. Not their first online course, but their first course, period. So all students, all of your students, will have access to Canvas. And all of this happens automatically through an integration process between PeopleSoft and Canvas. And everybody starts off accessing Canvas using the same types of credentials. The user ID, which you're prompted for on the login page, is your 10-digit employee or student number. Your ID number in PeopleSoft is used as your login ID for Canvas. The initial password is your 8-digit birth date, month, day, year. So if you were born on June 1st, 1998, I wish, your password would be 06 for the month. And so if it's a 1-digit month or a 1-digit day, you got to put a 0 in front of it. So 0601 for June 1st and 1998 for the year, the full year. And that will get you into Canvas. So let's see that happen. My login, unfortunately, is a little different. I was one of the first 3 people loaded into the system when we got Canvas, so mine's a little different. But I just enter my user ID and my password into the login screen and click the login button to access Canvas. When I first land in Canvas, I'm taken to what's called my dashboard. And this is a little bit more like what it's going to look like. These things at the top here are system announcements that are very important. That we don't let just anybody put in a system announcement, and there has to be a really good reason to use this tool, but it's a way to communicate with almost the entire SDCCD instructional community in one pop. So it is a useful thing. But those system announcements or system-wide announcements will appear at the top of your dashboard, but this is more like what your dashboard looks like. It's a web page with a series of colored rectangles on it. Each colored rectangle represents a Canvas course site, or as the term is usually used, a shell, because when you first get these course sites, they're empty. They're containers into which you put information and into which you and your students are automatically enrolled. And all courses at the San Diego, all course sections at the San Diego Community College District get a Canvas shell every semester. Whether you choose to use it or not is up to you. Well, at least in the case of a face-to-face class. You may or may not choose to use your Canvas shell, but it's there for you if you choose to. And it can be of great benefit to both you and your students. So I encourage you to take advantage of that if you wish. Each rectangle represents a course. And to access a course, you just click on the rectangle, and in you go. So now you already know a good deal about Canvas. How to get in, how to find it, and how to get in. The Canvas interface is pretty standard. All courses look, to a certain extent, look alike, so that students know how, and the navigation of those courses is very similar from one course to a section to another, to another, to another, so that students have a common interface, which is a critical feature in online and web enhanced learning. We call it web enhanced learning if you're teaching face-to-face and you use a Canvas shell to supplement or enhance your instruction. And you are very welcome to do that. But this interface then is pretty consistent. That is the single biggest reason to have a learning management system in online and web enhanced learning. You can do most of the things that we do with Canvas using other, even free tools, but the interface will vary from course to course to course, and that confuses the living daylights out of our students. So that's why we have only one learning management system at the district, and strongly recommend that one be used in lieu of other means of sharing information with your students. Once you access the course in Canvas, the first thing you'll note on the left-hand side of the screen here is this gray bar. And I'm just going to show you this live, I think. Here's the gray bar on the left called the Global Access menu. This contains links to system-wide resources that are not concerned with a single course, but with your entire Canvas account. Your account link at the very top allows you to customize your Canvas account. There's way more here than I can go through right now in an overview. I just finished the other night a separate session on the Canvas user account menus. But some highlights are you can set notification preferences, which govern how Canvas communicates with you. And you can, under settings, you can change your password. If you go to the settings link in your account menu and go to edit settings here, oops, I'm in the way. Let me get myself shrunk down here. There we go. I'm a more appropriate size now. Mini me. If we go to edit settings, we have an option to check this box here that says change password. Then we enter our old password, probably our birth date, and then enter a new password twice. Right now the only minimum requirement for the password is that it be 8 or more characters. It's a good idea to change your password because your birth date's probably not as secure as it might be. So we recommend changing that once you start to use Canvas. Here's the dashboard link, which takes you back to the dashboard if you've navigated away from it. Courses is a text-based list of all the courses that you are currently enrolled in, going back potentially several semesters. The Canvas provides an events calendar through which you can use to provide information to your students. Also, you can create events in the calendar, and when you assign various assessments and you give them a due date, the due dates automatically show up in the calendar for the students, so they can always keep track of when their responsibilities are coming up. The inbox tool is a Canvas messaging system. It's sort of like email, but it's not email. It's internal to Canvas. You can use it like email to send messages to your students, which are secure, personal. No one else will see them unless you send it to multiple recipients. And that is guaranteed to be delivered. Canvas messages do not go astray, as internet emails sometimes do. So, a very important communication tool in Canvas. We'll talk about the Canvas Commons here in a minute. The Studio link gives you access to Canvas Studio, which is a video hosting, organizing, and creation tool that is tightly integrated with our Canvas learning management system, and that you have all Canvas users have access to for free. And then there's a help menu, one of the most important menus in any system, that's designed to help you use the system and give you help when you need it. There is we still have phone support for Canvas for both faculty and students. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year support hotline where you can call up and talk to someone who's an expert in Canvas. It's staffed by people at Instructure. We have that for both faculty and students. We have our own Canvas tutorials available through the help session, and we have the Canvas guides, which are hundreds and hundreds of very specific and bite-sized text and static graphics-based tutorials that will help you figure out how to do something with Canvas. All right, so that's the global access menu in Canvas. Let's go back to a course here and go back to our dashboard. And we'll go to this sample course I'm going to use a lot today. And let's get back to PowerPoint. Each of these courses has a course menu. As you see on the left here, which contains links which allow you to access various tools and content areas associated with the course. As we're going to see as we talk more about how to develop a Canvas course, you don't expect that your students will have to spend too much time in this course menu, because you are going to create modules, instructional units where they're going to spend most of their time. But occasionally they will want to see announcements, which are just messages that you post that everyone in the course can see. They're going to want to access their modules, and you can give them access to their discussion topics, their syllabi, their grades. All common links available in Canvas. And the students just click on one of those links to navigate through the course. There in the center of the screen is a large area where your course content will appear, the so-called content frame. So when you put a document in to the system and the students are to read it, it will appear here. And then on the far right, on many pages, you'll also have so-called task menus, which are extra functional buttons that allow you or the students to obtain certain information or access certain parts of the course. So, at the about a month before the beginning of the term, you receive the course sites, course containers, course shells, we usually term them, for your courses that you are scheduled to teach in the next semester. At that point, excuse me, you're going to have to put information for your students. If you're going to use your Canvas shells, you're going to have to put information into those shells to share with your students. You'll have to prepare your assessments, prepare your discussion topics if you're going to use those, and initialize the communication tools and so on. Just generally get the Canvas shell ready for use. We call that a course development in Canvas. There are several ways you can go about that. One, that's not listed here, is perhaps you've taught this course in Canvas before, and you are going to then just copy the content from your previous Canvas shell into your new Canvas shell for the next semester. This can be done at any time. I will illustrate that process a little later on in another context, but it's very easy to copy the entire content of one course shell into another. It takes about 30 seconds of your time to do it. But assuming you don't, let's assume this is the first time you've taught this course using Canvas, and you don't have an old Canvas shell ready to copy from. Your first option, it's another one of those situations, don't buy it if you can rent it, don't rent it if you can steal it, that kind of thing. It'd be wonderful if you could get access to a developed Canvas shell for your course from a colleague or from your department. Some departments maintain collections of, the rudiments, or at least rudimentary developed Canvas shells that they supply to people teaching those courses that they can start with and then customize to meet their own desires. Or you may find a colleague who teaches the same course and they use Canvas. They might loan you their Canvas, the content from their Canvas shell. That's a big ask because, as we're going to see, it's developing a Canvas shell takes some time and effort and a lot of thought. But I know people out there who are incredibly generous with their Canvas shells and who will freely share them, so it's worth a try. And you may not, what you get may not be exactly to your liking, but it'll at least give you a starting point to add more and rearrange, add more information and rearrange and so on. So it's a great leg up. You might get a basic course template from your textbook publisher. Sometimes they will supply, rudiment or fundamental course information that you can then flesh out. You might find a course template in the Canvas Commons. Canvas Commons is a marvelous resource. Let me pull that up. It's accessed through this link over here in the make sure that's coming through. This link in the Global Access menu that we discussed earlier. If you click on that, you're taken to a repository, a so-called learning object repository that has, at present count, over 225,000, over 250,000 resources that have been freely shared by people who use Canvas all over the state and all over the world, and provided to you so that you can use them in your courses. And these range from entire courses to little bits of courses, like individual quizzes or individual homework assignments or individual pages of information. So you can find a tremendous amount of stuff here. You can just type in your subject. Not quite as many for chemistry. I wonder why, 1,766. But here's an instructional module, a piece of a course. Here are the entire courses. And these range levels from K-12 through graduate higher education. You can go through, you can find something you like, you can click on it, preview it, and if you wish, import it into your course shell. And use it as you see fit. Keep what you like, throw away what you don't. It's a marvelous resource that you should, when you're developing courses, it's always worth a look. Or, as we're going to assume today, you may be in the situation where you have to develop this from scratch, like Bob the Builder. My wife's a children's librarian, so children's literature is something I'm exposed to a great deal. And what we're going to assume today is that you're going to have to build out this Canvas course, develop it from scratch. And at this point, I want to introduce the concept of development shells. I told you that you would get the shells in which you're actually going to teach, your Canvas containers, about a month or so before the beginning of the term. But you may well want to start working on the shells long before that. And a good way to do that is to request what are called development shells. These are shells in which you create the course, you load all your content, set up your assessments, and get everything ready. And then just before the beginning of the term, you'd copy all of that into your live teaching shells that are provided to you automatically. The reason for this is the integration between, well, of course, it allows you to get started earlier than you could otherwise in developing a new course, but also it prevents you from certain negative outcomes that can happen because of the integration between PeopleSoft and Canvas. Notably, if the administration has to change something major about your course record in PeopleSoft, like changing the CRN or something like that, you can lose access to your teaching shell. It will be cleared and you'll be back to a blank shell, and maybe you've spent hours working in that shell. It's not a good idea to develop a course at the SDCCD, develop a Canvas course in the teaching shell. You really want a development shell in which is not connected to PeopleSoft in any way. No one else will ever have access to your development shell, so it's a safe haven for your content. It also gives you a pristine copy of your course content that students never touch, because no students will ever be enrolled in your development shell, and it's safe from course edits in PeopleSoft. You don't lose your work. You can get a development shell through the Canvas Help menu, either through the phone support option that I showed you, or through a chat support option, which is also in that menu. And you just go online, you talk to someone at Canvas or type with them and say, I'm an instructor at the San Diego Community College District. I'd like a development shell for English 101. And they make you one while you wait, and you immediately have a shell in which you can start developing your course. One caveat about that. If you are using publishers' sites like my whatever lab, my math lab, my coding lab or whatever, or MindTap, or any of the other publishers' supplemental sites that come with a textbook that students have to pay for access to, you can't pair your development shell with the publisher's site in order to use the publisher's content flexibly within Canvas. You have to wait until you have copied your content from the development shell into the live shell before you pair your do the pairing with the publisher's sites. Okay, the core, now we're going to talk about actually putting content and assessments and communication tools into your Canvas shell, actually developing your Canvas shell. And this concept begins with the concept of a module in Canvas. A Canvas course is built around modules. Let's take a look and see what we mean here. Here is a sample course. This is actually a little online asynchronous flex course we have running right now that people are actually working in, so I have to be a little careful here. But the modules within a Canvas course are groups of links that are related to one another in some way. Each module consists of a series of links that are related logically to one another, usually through being part of a certain logical subdivision of your course, like the first day, the information you provide on the first day, or weekly modules may be, you may have a new module for each week of instruction in the course, or each chapter in the textbook, or each topic within the course. That's how this course is arranged. By the modules are subdivided by topic. But these links within the module then provide the student with the access to the information they need, the assessments they need to complete, the communication tools they need to use to communicate with you or one another. The modules in a Canvas course are the heart of the course. Ideally, and a course then typically consists of a series of modules, as you see here. Each one consisting of a series of links that are all related to that particular subdivision of the course. You may have dozens of modules, or you may have fewer than 10. Just depends on how you arrange your course. So the first thing we have to do when we go about when we are to go about creating or developing a Canvas course is to create a module. So I'm going to work today in a shell, just a sandbox shell, we call it, which I can do anything in that I wish. If I can find it here, sorry. There we go. I'll call this my course creation sandbox. So this is think of this as a development shell that you've received from Canvas Help. It automatically appears on your dashboard, and you access it just by clicking on the tile or the colored rectangle that is associated with it. This is what a blank Canvas shell looks like, and this is what you'll be getting. Either your development shells or your automatically created live teaching shells will look like this when you first get them. There will be no content in them. you're either going to have to copy content forward from a previous semester or from a development shell that you have already fleshed out, or you're going to start, if this is a development shell, you're going to have to, and it's a new course and you've never developed a Canvas shell for this course before, you're going to have to build this shell from scratch. And that's the process we're going to model here. And the first thing you do is create a new module. That's why this big icon is staring at you in the center of the screen here. That's obviously where you're going to start, is to create a new module. You can also use this plus module button up here. It'll do exactly the same thing as this big thing here. So you can click either of those places and you'll be asked to add your first module. And all you have to do to add a module is to give it a name. Your first module, more often than not, though it's up to you how you arrange your modules, obviously, and what you put in them. But it's typical, anyway, to have your first module provide students with information and resources that you would normally give to them on the first day of class or shortly thereafter. You walk in, you introduce yourself, you say, okay, this is English 101, everybody, and 2 or 3 people leave because they're in the wrong room or something like that. You make sure everybody knows what they're getting themselves into. And hopefully you won't do it like a situation I had one time in graduate school where I walked in to a class, apparently the wrong room, listed incorrectly in the schedule, and the instructor spoke to me in French, which I did not understand, and insisted on doing so until I finally figured out I was in the wrong place. Hopefully that won't happen. So we just have to give this module a name. If you're going to use it, you could call it First Day or Zero Day or Welcome. I like Getting Started, but that's just me. So you just type the name and click the big Add Module button. Typically, if you look at the screen in Canvas, if you're trying to figure out how to accomplish something you want to accomplish in Canvas, if you look at the screen and think a little bit, usually you can figure out what to do next. Canvas's user interface is famously intuitive, at least by the standards of other learning management systems. I won't say it's 100% intuitive, but it's better than most, which is one of the reasons why we're using Canvas instead of many other possible learning management systems that we might be using. So, we get our first blank module. Not much to it. Doesn't take much to get started. I've shown you the sample course, and we're working in the Getting Started module, or Welcome module, or First module, or whatever you want to call it. Typical things you would do on that first day would be provide the students with a syllabus, some information about you, convincing them that they should listen to you because you really do know something about this subject. Maybe have an icebreaker discussion. Tell me a little bit about yourself as you go around the room. And maybe it's difficult to do this in the live in the classroom, but in Canvas it's easy to provide them maybe with a syllabus quiz to see if they actually read the syllabus or not, and give them a little grade for that. It's even possible in Canvas to not allow them to proceed into the rest of the course until they can convince you by passing the syllabus quiz that they have read the syllabus. And whatever else you normally do on the first day of class. So how do we go about that? Oops, that's not the one I wanted. There we are. If at any time I am talking about something that you can't see, or if you have any trouble hearing me or anything like that, please let me know right away. And I'll do my best to rectify the situation. I don't want to natter on about things that you can't see or hear. So thank you for that. And don't hesitate to unmute yourself and just ask. Okay, so I have this first empty module. This is like, rolling that first sheet of paper into the typewriter. Oh, God. Some of you are probably too young to have ever used a typewriter. Oh, well. Bringing up the first blank page in a word processor. And sitting there and staring at it. And thinking, now what do I do? Well, probably the first thing you'd do on that first day of class is pass out the syllabus, right? Well, let's assume that you probably, before you got that syllabus onto paper, you almost certainly typed it out in a Word document or some other word processing document. Probably a Word document. That's word processor is just about eliminated competition in that particular space. And in this case, you'd provide it to your students by sharing that Word document with them. And you'll share it through a link in this module. To get that Word document into Canvas and then place a link to it in your Getting Started or Welcome or whatever module, you will use this little icon here in the Canvas interface. It's in the title bar for the module, out to the right of where the name of the module is displayed. If you go out there, you see that little plus sign. Plus implies add. Add content to the module. It's intuitive to click, hopefully, to click on that plus sign to add something to this module. So I click on that, and I get a so-called dialog box popping up. And it's called an add item box. This is how you add links and content, links to content. Actually, you're going to add both the content to Canvas and a link to the content to the module. This menu right here at the top of the dialog box shows you the different sorts of items you can add to a Canvas module. Assignment means a homework assignment. Quiz is obvious. A file. A page. A discussion topic, a bulletin board where you and your students can communicate with one another without being online at the same time, asynchronously. A text header is just like a subtitle in a module. They don't get used that much. An external URL is a link, a web link, a link to content outside of Canvas, out on the web somewhere. One of the real powers of online education is you can utilize content that you or millions of other people have created out on the internet and that they make available for free. A link to that is termed an external URL by Canvas. Or an external tool like a publisher's site, like My Math Lab or My Whatever Lab. Or an external tool like Canvas Studio, where you have created videos and you want to share those with your students. So these are the different types of items that you can add to your module. And we're going to start with a file, a computer file, because probably you have that syllabus typed out in a Word document and stored on the hard drive of your local computer. So I select File. I've got a syllabus file on my local computer that I want to put into Canvas and share with the students. To tell Canvas that I want a new file, I click where it says Create Files. I can actually upload multiple files at one time. And then when I do that, I'm given a Choose Files button here. And if I click that button in turn, a file manager window on my local computer opens up. Either File Explorer on a Windows computer, as we see here, or the Finder on a Macintosh. So now I gotta find where I have my course syllabus saved. That gets harder every year, but probably it's in my Documents folder. And I happen to have a folder full of boilerplate type files that I use for this tutorial, so I'm going to open that up. And let's see, I do have a syllabus here somewhere, screencasting syllabus. We're going to sort of reproduce part of the subset of that Learn to Screencast course that I showed you as a sample course a little while ago. But this would, of course, be your subject. In order to share that syllabus document with my students, and that is a Word document from the DOCX extension there, to share that with my students, I highlight it, and I click, and there I am in the way again. Let me get myself out of the way. I click down here in the lower right-hand corner where it says Open. And that tells Canvas which document I want to upload into Canvas and link into this module. But it hasn't done it yet. It doesn't actually do that until you press the Execute button. The Add Item button is what actually executes this operation. And you'll see that over and over and over again as you're building your course. The file uploads. Doesn't take very long if it's a small file. And bingo, here is a link to it in Canvas. The little green circle with the white check mark in it indicates that this file has automatically been published. Published is a fraught word in Canvas. If something is published, your students can see it. If it's not published, you can see it, but your students can't. So obviously you want to make sure something you want your students to see is in fact published. And not just the file itself in this case, but also the module as a whole. If a module itself is not published, which you can do by just clicking this little Publish Unpublish button here to the left of the plus sign that we used before. Unless that module is published, your students won't see anything that's inside it, regardless of whether the individual items are published or not. So this looks good. So this is what students would see, or within reason. Indeed, if we want to see exactly what the students are going to see on this page, we can go to the upper right-hand corner of the screen here, on most Canvas screens, and go into Student View, which shows us what our students will see on this page. Let's try that. What that does is it actually logs you out as the instructor and logs you back in as your automatically provided test student. This test student can do all sorts of things. It can take tests, it can submit homework assignments, it can participate in discussions, most of the things that a real student can do in Canvas. But it's your alter ego, which allows you to see what your course looks like to your students. And it's not always very similar to what you see. This looks quite a bit different, though it has the same basic infrastructure here. And if your student wants to see this syllabus, they just click on that link and wait a moment. They'll get a little twirling wheel, which keep them entertained, let them know that Canvas is working on something. And then your syllabus document, or whatever document you have uploaded, will appear. Because of the way I have my screen magnified. We get a bunch of scroll bars here. That won't necessarily be the case. But there's my syllabus. For common, so that's how students view files that you have uploaded to Canvas and linked into a module. This is one of the fundamental things or activities that you'll carry out in Canvas. Putting in files that contain instructional information for your students, ranging from the syllabus to lecture notes to PowerPoint presentations to reading assignments and so on. You can post all sorts of file-based information. Your students can view it 24/7, 365. They'll never lose access to it unless you delete it from the system. Common file types like Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, PDF documents, Adobe Acrobat documents are handled very efficiently by Canvas. Canvas will actually convert those documents into a local format and then share that with the students. So this file doesn't actually have to download to the student's own computer before they can open it up. Those are called server-side file viewers, for what it's worth, and this makes it so that the student, you don't have to worry about whether the students have an application on their home computer that will allow, or their mobile device. They may indeed be accessing your Canvas courses through their smartphone. And Canvas provides excellent smartphone and tablet apps that allow students to effectively utilize your information or access the information that you've placed for them in Canvas from their smartphone that they carry around in their pocket. So Canvas is very mobile friendly, we say. But these server-side file viewers only exist for a limited number of very common file types. If you put more esoteric file types onto Canvas, like say an AutoCAD document if you're teaching drafting, or the output from some more esoteric software package like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or something like that. Actually, for Photoshop, you'd probably have a server-side viewer for most graphic file types. But in the event that there's not a server-side viewer like we're using here, the file will download to the student's computer and have to be opened up there. So the student will have to have an application on that computer that can open that file. So if you share, say, an AutoCAD document with a student, which you can certainly do through Canvas, they have to have AutoCAD or some sort of AutoCAD viewer on their local computer. So that's a consideration you have to make when you're supplying your students or sharing files with your students through Canvas. If you're sticking with fairly common file types, you won't really have to worry about that. Okay, in order to return to my own persona and ditch student view, I have this button down here in the lower right hand corner that says Leave Student View. And this magenta bar here reminds me the whole time that I am in student view. I'm seeing the course as students would see it, not as me. So I'm going to jump back to my modules and I'm going to leave student view. Now I'm back as myself, and that happens usually quite quickly. So that's how we can load files into Canvas. Information in the form of computer files that were created offline, that is outside of Canvas, usually on our local computer, or perhaps a file that we've downloaded from the internet or that someone has emailed to us or whatever. that's how we share that content with our students. But that's not the only sort of content you might share with your students in a module. If we go back to the Add Item button on a module, we'll see that there are other options for items that we can add to the module. And in terms of content, the other very important content item type is a Canvas page. It can be a little confusing to get the distinction between pages and files. Let's see, what's the saying? All pages are files, but not all files are pages. Okay, a page is a special type of computer file. It's one that you create inside Canvas. You don't create a Canvas page on your local computer and then upload that to Canvas, as we did with the syllabus there. A Canvas page is basically a web page, an HTML document for those of you who are conversant with computer programming, or at least web programming. And these pages are created inside Canvas using an editor that is built into Canvas called the Rich Content Editor, which we're about to see. So if you want to create content inside of Canvas, rather than creating it on your local hard drive and then uploading it to Canvas, you would select a page here. And like you did with the file, if you want a new page, you would hit the button that says Create Page here. Let's see if I can... That one right there. Got a little pointer there. I might as well use that tool. I paid for it. Okay. So I'll just click Create Page. And all I'm asked for when I do that, really, don't worry about indentation and stuff like that. That's gilding the lily. All I'm asked for is a name for the page. And another thing I might provide to my students right off the bat in on the first day of class is information about me. Because I'm the one who's going to be assigning the grades, right? They're going to want to know something about me. We'll just call this page Instructor Information. And if we really want to be credible, we'll even spell it right. It's really humiliating to have to type live for people. My mama told me to learn to type. Too late now. All right, so we'll call this page Instructor Information. And then I'll add the item to my module. Well, that was easy, you say. Gee, how does it know who you are and what information you needed to add? Well, of course it doesn't. Let me get myself back out of the way here. It doesn't. What I've created here is a blank page. So it doesn't have anything other than a name. To actually add information to this page, I have to click on the name of the page I've just created. Not on the little menu out here, which would allow me to edit the name of the page, just in case you were wondering what that was out there, but on the name of the page that I have just added to the module. And that opens up a page where I could, or a box where I could view the contents of the page if there were any, and I can add information to the page by clicking on this edit button here. Again, Canvas's interface is usually fairly intuitive. It's not difficult at all to figure out, if you just look around a little bit, how to edit this page, and then later how to make it available or visible to your students, but by publishing it. But we're going to have to edit it first to get something in there worth looking at. So I click the Edit button, and I bring up the Rich Content Editor, RCE, in Canvas. This is the ubiquitous content editor in Canvas. You use this in many different places in Canvas. You use this as an instructor when you create an announcement, when you add instructions to anything, a quiz, a homework assignment, a discussion topic. When you post to a discussion topic, you use this. When students post to a discussion topic, they use this editor. When they're typing the answer to an essay question into a test, they use this editor. It is nearly ubiquitous in Canvas. You see this whenever you're adding content into Canvas, typing or linking in other sorts of things. Indeed, it's called the Rich Content Editor because you can do a lot more than just type, though you can certainly type into this. But, like, I can type my name. That's something they'll definitely want to know. So when they go on complaint, oops, that's not what I meant to do. Didn't mean to type it there, sorry. When they type into this box, this text box, or this content box here, in the Rich Content Editor, that appears. There's my name. So when they go to complain to the dean, they'll know who to complain about. But it's called the Rich Content Editor because you can do a lot more than just type into it. You can add so-called rich content. You can add static images, pictures. You can add video. You can add links to content inside and outside of Canvas. So you can, you can even embed other documents into Canvas. Like if you have a Word document, you can embed it right into a Canvas page. And you can also insert content from so-called third-party apps or external tools like Canvas Studio or films on demand from your library's film archive, or just a bewildering variety of different sorts of content of all sorts can be included in a Canvas page. So it is an extremely powerful content object that you can supply to you. So you can supply all sorts of information and content to your students using the Rich Content Editor. You might ask at this point, let's just deal with this question before we move on to show you how to do that sort of thing in the Rich Content Editor. You might ask, well, why would I choose to create a Canvas page instead of doing this offline and then uploading it into Canvas as a file, as an external file, like I did with the course syllabus? That worked fine. Why would I bother with Canvas pages? Well, for starters, Canvas pages are web pages. And your students are accessing Canvas through a web browser, an application on their computer or their smartphone, which allows them to access information on the web. It allows them to display web pages from the World Wide Web. So this is the native content format for a learning management system like Canvas, a web page. So it's going to download and display much more rapidly than, say, that syllabus did. You saw that. The first time a student accesses that syllabus, it takes it a while to appear. If I'd had that syllabus in the form of a Canvas page, it would have popped up instantly, or nearly so, depending on the speed of the student's computer and the speed of their internet connection, but much more rapidly than a file would appear. So it's a more efficient way, because you add up those few seconds each time the student accesses an item in a module over the 16 weeks of a semester. You're saving them hours and hours of waiting time if you put your content in a page instead of a file that you've uploaded into Canvas. Also, you can do things with a Canvas page you can't realistically do with a document. It's difficult, for instance, to embed a video into a Word document. You can do it, but it's clunky. It's very easy to do in a Canvas page, as we'll see. And it's also awkward to provide links to content outside of Canvas. Outside of Canvas. That's what I meant to say. Like web pages or websites out on the World Wide Web. And it's darn near impossible to provide links to contents inside of other content inside of Canvas, which is very easy to do with a Canvas page. So a Canvas page is probably the ideal sort of way to provide content to your students in Canvas, though files will work in many cases as well. So, what do I want to provide here? Well, certainly I want to give them my name, but probably a little more than that. One of the first things you might put in an instructor information page is a picture. Okay, now this is not so critical if this is a face-to-face class and you see them 2 or 3 times a week. They know what you look like. They know you're a human being. But if this is an asynchronous online course where pretty much everything's done in Canvas and they never see you unless you choose to do Zoom sessions with them, which are optional in an asynchronous course. You can't make them attend a Zoom session. If your course is coded online synchronous in PeopleSoft, then you can require them to nominally require them to attend your Zoom session, your Zoom class meetings, but let's face it, they don't always attend your face-to-face class meetings either. So some of them are not going to see you that often anyhow. And having a picture in there means more, particularly to the students who never see you, than you can imagine. It humanizes you. It convinces them that you are, in fact, a real person. Unless you put a picture up there of Bullwinkle the Moose or something like that, which you can do too. Or, as one smart aleck faculty member who will remain nameless did, put up a picture of Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet. Yes, you are being taught by a robot. Learn. But probably that's not the greatest idea. So a picture is a wonderful thing. The Rich Content Editor gives you a way to do that. It's this tool right here. This toolbar here allows you to carry out most of the operations that you'll ever need to carry out in the Rich Content Editor. And this tool, if I mouse over it, I see is the Images tool. And this allows me to upload pictures to Canvas and display them in this page. I use the tool by clicking the little down caret, the menu button beside it, rather than the icon itself, usually. Actually, either one will work, won't it? So if I click on that icon, or the little down caret, I get this Upload Image button, which allows me to find a file, an image file, a picture, on my local hard drive, and upload it into this document in Canvas. I can just click and drag from a file manager window onto this little launch pad icon here, or I can just click the little rocket ship to go and search using my file manager for a particular image. And since I was in that content creation tutorial folder before, Windows remembered where I was, so I don't have to, which is a real bonus at my age. And there's a picture of me, a relatively recent picture. I know there are some of you out there using pictures that are 10 years old or more. Hey, I've done that too. And the older we get, the more temptation there is. So, this just establishes your credentials as a human being. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a human being of your particular age at this point. But I'm going to select this one. So to get that image, I just click on it to select it, and then click. Well, there I'm in the way again. That's the drawback to this little mini me down here. Now I just click Open in the lower right hand corner, the Open button, and that uploads the picture to my local hard drive, or excuse me, to Canvas, from my local hard drive. It's always a good idea if you put a picture online. Indeed, it's required by district policy and state and federal legislation to provide what's called alternate text that describes what this picture is in words, so that a blind student who's using a piece of software called a screen reader to process these Canvas pages that you're providing them with, the screen reader reads the text in the page. When it gets to a picture, it can't tell the student, it can't know what that picture is unless you tell it that this is a photo of Dave or something to that effect. Usually it's just a short description. And then submit. That loads that picture into my developing document. And as like as not, it'll be way bigger than I need it to be. Good God, nobody needs to see me in that kind of close-up. So if I click on the picture in the editor, I get at the corners of the image, I get little blue squares, which are called handles. If I mouse over one of them, I get a little double-headed arrow. My mouse cursor turns into a double-headed arrow, and I can click and drag down to the right, and I can reduce this image to some kind of reasonable size that someone might actually be able to stand. Okay, so there's my picture. I have a lot of the usual tools like you'd have in Microsoft Word for manipulating images and text inside the editor. For instance, I have, and I'm blowing the screen up to make it easier for you to see, because I know it fuzzes up a little bit through Zoom, but there are more icons in this toolbar here than are actually showing right now. If I click this little expansion menu button here, the three vertical dots, I see the rest of the toolbar, and the first thing in that is my alignment tool, which would allow me to put that picture in the middle or on the right if I so desired. Let's put it in the center. So now I can move my name over to the center as well by highlighting it and centering it. And I'm an instructional design, or I was, at Online Learning Pathways. So I can type information in here. But I'm not anymore because I'm retired. Smile. They might well want to know how to get in touch with me, and I can supply contact information here, and I can supply the contact information I want them to use. For instance, my district email, perhaps. And I can even make that an active link, so it will open up their email program if they click on it. I can do that by using this little chain link icon here, which is my links icon. And this would be an external link. And the link will be a mail to link. With my email address following it. So now if the student clicks on that link, it should open up their default email program on their computer, and this email address should be in the to line. Maybe I want them to know more about me. All right, this is something that's kind of scary to do live, but I'm going to open up a new Google window here. You ever do this? Sure, you probably have. Google yourself. You got to put your sensibilities away very tightly in a compartmentalized box in your mind. So here's information about me, and here's the link to that search in Google. Anybody who has that link could automatically see me, so I'm going to copy that to my operating system clipboard I can right-click on it and select copy, or I can just do a Control-C on the keyboard, or a Command-C on a Mac, and copy that to my clipboard. And now I can type a so-called anchor for that, some text that they would be able to click on. I can Google Dave and see who the heck they're dealing with. I don't necessarily recommend this. I'm just trying to show you how to create an external web link, okay, in a document, all right? This is the best idea I could come up with. So I can highlight that text, and again, click the link button, select external link, and paste in the link box here that URL, Uniform Resource Locator, for the Google search of me. And that will be a dynamic link in that, if I get picked up tomorrow for some heinous offense and thrown in the slammer and make the news, well, that'll show up there too the next time somebody clicks on that link. Think carefully before you do this. All right. And what else might I put here? Well, I might put a welcome or an introductory video. When you're talking to your students in class, of course, you have the chance to speak to them and be dynamic and try to engage them and so on and express your personality. That's a little harder when all you have is a still image. You can also, in creating a Canvas page, you can embed videos. Let's see, where did I put that? I put that on Canvas Studio, which is an external tool, an app. So I can use this electric cord icon here, and click on it, and I can view all of my external apps, one of which is Canvas Studio. This opens up my Canvas Studio library, and here's a little video I created for this seminar today to illustrate a personal introductory video. I'll select that. I'm not going to display media tabs. And I'm going to embed that video in my document. And that's all there is to bringing a document or video over from Canvas Studio. That's not what I wanted to do. So I have a video. I can click on that video. Actually, I can't, can I? And make that smaller. Not really. Okay, so here's my welcome video. And I could keep going. I can put all sorts of content into a Canvas page. but that's all we have time to show right now. We do a seminar where we do nothing but talk about creating Canvas pages and other Canvas documents in the rich content editor for 2 hours. So there's a lot more to the content editor, but this is probably all you really need to be able to do to have an effective Canvas course or an effective Canvas page. So at this point, I'm going to say we're good enough. I can save this so I can come back and work on it later, or I can save it and publish it and make it available to any students who might be in the course now or later by saving it and publishing it. So there's the page. And if I go back to my modules, which I can always get back to through the course menu over here, there's my instructor information page. This little icon tells me it's a page, as the little paperclip icon here next to the syllabus tells me it's a file that I uploaded from my local computer. If a student wants to view my instructor information, they can click there, and there I am. And if they really want to get to know me, they can play the video right from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Giberson, and I'm going to be your instructor for this Learn to Screencasting course. I'm an old retreaded chemist who's been making his living playing with toys for the last 30 or 40 years. And screencasting is my absolute favorite multimedia toy. I've been screencasting for over 30 years. Started with a VCR, a scan converter, an old microphone, and stone knives and bear skins. And have been doing it ever since. In my opinion, it's the most powerful instructional multimedia technique there is, and one that I hope you'll enjoy learning and enjoy using to enhance your students' instructional experience. Here we go.
Okay. That is extremely valuable if you're never going to see your students in live. They really get a feel for you as a person. It makes it a lot easier for them to tolerate the psychological isolation that they're liable to feel in a fully asynchronous online course. And it's useful even if they're going to see you from time to time in other ways. So that's how we create a Canvas page and link it into a module. And I could keep going here and enter all sorts of other types of information here. I can put a syllabus quiz in. I can provide a course schedule. I can provide any other sort of information that I might share with them on the first day. But let's move ahead in the interest of time and talk about so-called content modules. This module is a module that gives them the information you give them probably on the first day of class. But what about the instructional information that they need as you progress 16, 8, 4 weeks through the course? Well, you're going to create more modules to contain that information. You create a new module by clicking on this plus module button up here. You get that same add module box we saw earlier. And you might make this module, entitle this module Week 1 or Chapter 1 in the textbook, or you might just use a topic label, which is what I'm going to do. As in, what is screencasting and why do I care? And I add the module, and I get another blank module. And I can add the same types of information, or of content information, to this module that I did into the Getting Started module. If I click my Add Module button up here, I can add homework assignments, quizzes, files, pages, and so on. The third type of content we haven't seen yet is an external URL, a link to a website out on the web outside of Canvas. Let's do that. This one's really simple. All I need is a name for this, and I'm going to call this the Guide to Screencasting. And the link for that web page, the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, the web address. How do I get that? Well, I navigate to the page, bring up a web browser, like I did when I Googled myself, and I'll look for TechSmith, I know is the company that produces this, Guide to Screencasting. Google knows what that is. And there it is, the ultimate guide. What is screencasting and why use it? If I click on that, I'll bring up the screencasting guide, and here's the URL up here on the address line of the browser. That's how I get the URL for a particular web page, the web address. And I just copy that to my clipboard, and I go back to Canvas, and I paste that into this URL box. And I can choose to load it in a new web browser tab or just into the content frame in Canvas. Let's see what that looks like. We won't load it in a new tab. Then I just add an item, and there's a Guide to Screencasting link. And the little chain link icon indicates that it's an external link, an external URL, a hyperlink, whatever you want to call it. And if a student clicks on that, bada bing, up comes, everybody, the European Union forces everybody to do that. All right, so here's all this wonderful information about screencasting that I did not have to create. And it's perfectly free. TechSmith is absolutely happy for you to use that because it's a marketing tool for them. Yet it contains lots of good information about this particular multimedia technique. So I just saved myself a lot of time and provided the students with some really, or you all, or my students, with some really useful information with minimal effort on my part. Never let it be, there's no point in reinventing the wheel if somebody's got it out there for you. So that's the third content type that Canvas has available for you. And final. But Canvas isn't just about providing access to content, to information. It's also about assessment. We haven't been back to my PowerPoint slides here in a minute. Let's go back and look at those real quick. We've made started our Getting Started module. Content modules should contain links to all needed content. In other words, you don't want your students to have to be swanning around over there in the course menu all the time. You want your content modules to be a one-stop shop so that students find everything they need for their online course with almost everything they need for their online course in the module. And we talked about how they could be organized. The different modules could cover different weeks of the course, different chapters in the book, topics, or some other means of organizing content. And we've built a content module. We've added links to files like lecture notes, PowerPoint presentations, assigned readings, videos, Zoom meetings. You can put a link to your Zoom meetings in there. And we've loaded files like Word docs, PDFs, PowerPoints, or any computer file. We've created Canvas pages in the rich content editor. We've supplied them with external URLs or web links, and even included a video in one page. But now let's talk about using Canvas as an assessment tool, finding out whether your students are getting it or not. By far the most powerful assessment tools in Canvas are Canvas assignments, homework assignments by any other name. So how do those work? Let's go to our, wrong one. Keep doing that, sorry. Here's our developing modules here. And a homework assignment I might put into this first content module here is one to assess whether the students understand what screencasting is. That is the first part of the question, right? What is screencasting? Well, I can add to this module, as I always do with this plus sign here, a homework assignment. I create a new assignment, since I don't have any yet, by clicking on that button, and I give the assignment a name. Call it Fred if I want to. And I get, just that fast, I get an assignment. No, it's just like the page. It's a blank assignment. There's nothing there yet. So to actually put something there, I have to click on the name of the assignment and edit it, as I did before with the Canvas page. And I go to an assignment creation screen. I already have the name of the assignment in there. I added that when I created the assignment. And then I'm given a rich content editor box wherein I can type or otherwise enter the instructions for the assignment, like define the term screencasting, list 3 instructional applications of screencasting, because this is pointed at you all, at instructors, at faculty. List 2 software tools that can be used to create screencasts. Upload your answers as a Word doc. So those are the instructions the student needs to complete this assignment. Then I have a whole bunch of properties or options for this assignment that have to be filled in. First, the number of points it's going to be worth in my grading scheme. I'm just going to say 10 points. We're not going to look at all these options here. They're not usually germane. Submission type is one we have to consider, though. How are the students going to turn this in to us? Well, Canvas anticipates a lot of different possibilities. If, in fact, they're going to be typing this out on paper and giving it to you, or printing it out on paper and giving it to you, you can say on paper. Or they can use an external tool like Canvas Studio if they're submitting a video or some other content from an external tool. But most often with Canvas, they're going to be submitting this homework assignment online. So that's the most common choice. And here are their online submission options. You can just give them a rich content editor box and let them type it out in the box while they're submitting the assignment, and then submit it. That's not a bad thing to do for a short assignment where they only have to type a few sentences maybe at the outside, but there are issues with it sometimes. The next two are basically useless in my view. There are other ways to accomplish that among the other options. So the two main options here are text entry or file upload. And I've asked for a file upload. I've asked them to upload a Word document. So I'll select that. If I want to make sure I get a Word document rather than, say, a Pages document on a Mac or something like that, I can restrict file upload types by just typing in the file extensions allowed, like docx for a modern Word document. Or if I have more that I'll accept, a comma, and DOC is the older Word document format, which some other word processors can produce that can't produce docx. But pretty much everybody should be able to produce a document in one of those formats. So that will prevent them from uploading anything I can't open. I can set the number of attempts. By default, they can turn this in as often as or as many times as they like. Or I can limit that to one or more attempts. I can do plagiarism review. If it's a significant writing assignment, I can have our plagiarism checker, Unicheck, go through it and find out if they copied it off the web. Useful information. I can create group assignments, peer review. I'm not going to go into that right now. I can also set a due date, like maybe May the 21st. By default, it assumes 11:59 p.m., so the end of the day, just before midnight on May 21st, they have to have, in order to meet my stipulations, they have to turn it in by then. But the due date is not enforced. They can turn it in after the due date, but Canvas will tell you they did so, and it'll give you a big red warning. If I don't want them to be able to turn it in after that time, date and time, I can set an available until date, which will prevent them from accessing or submitting the assignment after that time. So it was 21st at end of day. Now, at that point, they can't access the assignment anymore. And then I can just save and publish the assignment. Not a real terribly complicated process. The students can now access this assignment. They'll get the directions right off the bat and the due date. And then they can go and create a Word document on their local computer and then upload that document to this assignment. That would look something like if I go to Student View here. Oops, I didn't publish that module. That ain't going to work. Let's publish the module and everything, and then go to Student View and click on the assignment. I must not have published that external link. I must have booted that. The student gets this information. They can now go and create the Word document, come back to this page, click Start Assignment, File Upload. They're given an option to. This is the Dropbox for the assignment here. They can, assuming they've created that file on their hard drive, they can choose the file. Here I have a screencasting definition I've created. I'll click Open, and then click Submit Assignment. They get some feedback. Yay, you got your assignment in. And they also get a receipt, so they can be confident that it did go through, which is a major source of worry for new online students. They don't trust Canvas, and I don't blame them. So they get some feedback that reassures them there. So that's how an assignment works. You can also, of course, create quizzes. That's a little beyond the scope of this basic introduction. And quizzes particularly objective quizzes in online courses should be approached with caution because, they're going to be doing this on their own. You don't know how they're getting the answers to those quizzes. Quizzes are generally best employed as low-stakes learning opportunities in an online course rather than high-stakes assessments because you don't know that they're not 4 or 5 of them sitting around in a circle with their laptops all taking the quiz together. That's a lot harder to do with a homework assignment than it is with a quiz. Okay. So I've got a little over 15 minutes left to best employ that. Let's look at communication tools that you can use in Canvas, starting with discussions. Discussions are like bulletin boards where students post something and everybody can read it. You can go to your discussions tool or to your module, and we can add a discussion, like an icebreaker discussion in your Getting Started module. I can add a discussion to this module. I can create topic and give it a name. Let's just call it icebreaker and add the item. That's an empty discussion. There's no instructions or anything. So as before, I click on the name, I edit it, and I give some instructions like, tell us about yourself. To keep it as simple as possible, save time. I have some options I have to work through. I definitely want to allow threaded replies, which keeps, because students are not only going to be able to post their post, but they're also going to be able to reply to their peers' posts. Like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that you had done that or whatever. And this threading replies keeps related posts together in the discussion post. So I can't imagine why you wouldn't check that. You can make them post before seeing other people's posts so that they can't sort of riff off other people. You can make this graded if you like and give them credit for it, so to induce them to actually do it. You can set a number of points, as we did with the assignment. And you can set due dates and availability dates just as you could with the assessment. Then you can save and publish. If we go back to the module, there's the icebreaker discussion. We published it. If somebody clicks on that, they can now reply to this. And they have the complete rich content editor, so they can put in pictures, videos, links to content inside and outside of Canvas, all the stuff you can do with the rich content editor, and then they can post their reply. And it appears here along with their profile picture if they have uploaded one to Canvas. So it becomes a sort of a personal thing. Now anybody else who comes into this discussion can read that post. They can reply to it, or they can reply to the original prompt and tell us about yourself. And you can get these massive discussions going that may run for pages that are far more intense and extensive than anything you could ever do live in class. And people who are reluctant to speak up in class will become lions sometimes on these asynchronous discussion boards, or discussion topics. So this is a marvelous communication tool in Canvas and one that's highly recommended. In addition to the And of course this, if you make a discussion graded, that gives you a third assessment type to go with homework assignments and quizzes as well, graded discussions. The other major communication tools in Canvas include announcements, where you can add an announcement like test today. Don't forget the test today. And you can then just save that, and that becomes available under the announcement record here.
Also, under announcements, isn't it automatically sent out to all the students?
No,
Oh, okay.
automatically. Probably most of them will, that's a great question. Most of them will probably also get an email with the announcement in it.
That's what I meant.
But only if they have not changed their notification settings in Canvas.
Oh, okay.
Students get to determine whether that is possible, that will happen or not, with announcements and with inbox messages we'll talk about in a minute. That's up to the student, and you can't control it. So you can't be absolutely certain when you post an announcement in the course that a student will get an email with the announcement in it. Probably 80+% of them will, but you can't be sure, so you have to take that into account. And you can also do things like set up your home page on the course, which is by default your modules. You can go to the settings link in the course menu, the bottom link, and you can go to the bottom here to more options, like you feel like you need more options there, and you can show recent announcements on the Canvas homepage. The default being the 3 most recent, but you can set that number to anything pretty much anything you like. And then update your course details. That's how you manage your set options in your Canvas course under the settings menu here. We needed to look at that briefly anyway. And now if we go back to home, there the announcement appears automatically at the top of the home page. So you know they can see that if they enter Canvas. So that's another technique for assuring that they see your announcements. But it would be nice if you could force an email when you post an announcement, and we could do that in Blackboard, but we can't do it in Canvas. One of the things I'd change about Canvas. Canvas is very much into individual empowerment, including for students, even though we'd like to have some say in that sometimes. All right, so Inbox tool is basically a messaging system, as I mentioned earlier, that operates inside Canvas. You can send a message to anybody in a particular course. You can select recipients, teachers, students. You can select people, multiple people if you like. Or the entire, everyone, all students. Subject and a message, and then send it. I'm not going to send that because that would send that message out to a bunch of people who are going to go, what? Why is he sending me that? But you can attach files. You can even attach little videos that you create right here. I'm going to cancel that. So that's how the inbox tool works. And your messages that you receive are displayed over here on the left, and you can access those and read them and reply to them, just as you could with email, but this ain't email. It's all inside Canvas. If students, on the other hand, have left a default setting in place in their notification settings, Canvas will also send them an email with at least the text of the message included. so that they'll get it in their personal email. But again, you can't depend on that. You can encourage students and to do that and show them how to check that to see that that setting is set properly for that sort of thing to occur. And we cover that in another session, of course. But you can't be certain of it. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. So we've created assignments, which are much more valuable than quizzes, and graded discussions. Now, the last thing I'm going to cover today is we have 7 minutes left. I've had less time than that. Is the creation of a course homepage. What do I mean by that? Well, right now, when oops, that's the wrong one. I keep doing that. I need to get that out of there. There we were. If I go back to my course, well, I've left the course when I go to the inbox, so I have to come back and go find that course again, which is down here. And before I show you the home page, it occurs to me, I'm going to show you what to do once, assuming this is a development shell that you're building your course in, which is our recommendation, what to do when you get ready to copy this content into your live shell, your teaching shell. How do you do that? Well, you go to your dashboard and you find your teaching shell, which will be labeled with the date or the semester and the course subject and so on. And I have a little sandbox shell we can use here. I'll just use this one. I'm going to make this a blank shell by going to settings, because I don't need this content anymore. I go to settings, I go to the task menu over here on the right, which we talked about early on, and I select reset course content. Be very careful if you do this. Make sure you're in the right course. Otherwise, we can't get, if you delete your entire course, we can't get it back. This is forever. That's why the button is red. But I think I'm in the right place. So that converts a Canvas shell into a blank Canvas shell. If I want to now copy the content from my development shell into this, I go to import, go to settings, again in the course menu. And this is in the blank shell, the shell that doesn't have anything in it yet. And I go to the task menu over here on the right and I select import course content. Content type is copy a Canvas course. Now I have to tell Canvas which course I want to copy. If you have a relatively small number of courses, you'll see a list here from which you can pick. In my case, I've got way too many in there. So mine was called Course Creation Sandbox. There it is. I just type enough of the name that Canvas can figure out which one I want to copy from, which shell I want to copy from. And I select that. I tell it I want all content, and I click import. And that's all there is to it. 30 seconds of work. It may take a little while for this to occur depending upon the size of the course that you're copying. This one didn't take long at all. So now, if I go, all you have is an indication that something happened, is this little completed button here. But if I go to home here, I've got what I had put into that development shell up to that point. So that's all there is to moving your content from one shell to another. It takes almost none of your time. If you want, now by default, when a student accesses your course, or you access your course, the first thing they're going to see is the modules, which is the heart of the course, which is a reasonable default. But it would be nice to have a something a little bit more welcoming, a little more engaging appear instead of, okay, just the facts, ma'am, let's get to work, go. and let me know when you're finished. Be nice to have something a little more welcoming. You can do that by going to your Home button in your course menu and going to choose, well, actually, first thing you got to do is go to your Pages tool, which lists all of your pages. And I only have two in here. The one instructor information page that I created to show you how to create a page, and another one that I had hidden called the Home page. Okay. I created this page using the Rich Content Editor in much the same way I showed you myself creating this instructor information page. It has the same sort of content. But if I want this home page, which I named, I mean, there's no magic in that just naming this home page. If I want this to be the first thing the students see, I have to get into my list of pages here in the Pages tool and go and point at that page and go out to the right here to this content menu out here, or context menu, I should say. The three vertical dots is a universal menu symbol. And select the option Use as Front Page. Now, you'd think that would be all you'd have to do, in addition to creating the home page, of course. But if I go back here and click Home, nope, I'm still getting the modules. There's one other thing you have to do to make this happen. It took me an hour to figure out this the first time I did it. And I got to exercise my vocabulary. But I also, for some reason, have to go here and choose Home page off the home screen, off the task menu on the home screen. Choose Home page, and I have 5 options. The default, as we've seen, is to show the course modules as the home page. You also can use the course activity stream, which is kind of just a stream of events that have happened in the course. Or a list of assignments, which is what students really want to know. What do I got to do to make an A here? Or the syllabus. Or, as we want to do here, the front page that you have designated, the Canvas page, which you have created and designated as the front page. And it tells you that the current selectee is the one named Home page. Again, there's no magic in that name. I could call that Fred and it'd still work. But if I select Pages, Front Page, and save, now when somebody enters the course or clicks on the Home link, they get this home page, which gives them some information about the course, a little bit of a welcome video for the course, and a Start Here button is pretty important. That takes them to the modules, and they can actually start working in the course. The Rich Content Editor will allow you to link to content inside of Canvas as well as outside. Just let me very quickly show you that in this instructor information page here. If I wanted to edit that page and put a link to the bottom, on the bottom of this, which I might want to do, to start the course, gee, I thought I could spell start. A long day, I guess. And start the course. I can type a text anchor, or I could use a picture if I wanted to. In this case, the text makes more sense. I can highlight the text. I can click the link menu up here, which we saw before, and I can select a course link. This is a link to information inside the Canvas course as opposed to something out on the web. If I select that, I have several categories of links that I can select. Again, let me get myself out of the way here. And one of those is course navigation. Right down here, the last one. And under course navigation, I have options like the modules. The course navigation are the links in the course menu. So I can select modules. Come on, let's get out the way. Close that. Now, if I save this and go back to instructor information and click Start the Course, I go to the modules. So, in 2 hours and 3 minutes, sorry, though we actually started 3 minutes late, so in 2 hours, there's a tiptoe through the Canvas tulips. Obviously, I did not show you everything there is to know about Canvas. What I hope I did was give you an idea of how to get started with Canvas and give you a feel for some of the things you can do in Canvas with and for your students. And basically just get started using Canvas, particularly, oh yeah, Lee, understand, we're at the end, particularly if you haven't used Canvas before and you want to just get started. You will have, go ahead, you will have questions, and perhaps you have some right now.
I have used it this semester for the first time after 2 years of unemployment. And now that I got my feet wet, I really appreciated today. Will you stay late for specific questions?
I will always stay late for any questions.
Okay.
Let's start with questions about Canvas, and then we can move to anything.
No, it's Canvas. It's the grade book.
Okay.
But see if either of the other two have any questions.
Well,
Marnie has her hand up.
Marnie, so she does.
Thank you. So I have a question that I don't know. You have no control over this, but why do you think Canvas doesn't have a search function?
Oh boy, that's
Dave,
a really good question.
did you give Marnie that real quick little tip about the microphone and the green line?
Yeah, Marnie, your audio is a little low. So you may want to, at some point on your Zoom settings, go to your microphone icon, lower right-hand corner. There's a little up caret next to it. And in that menu, there's when you click on that, you get a menu. And there's an option to test your speaker and microphone. You may need to increase your microphone sensitivity a little bit. Or you may just need to get closer to the microphone. It's hard to say. But I heard you. I got the question. So,
Better?
yes, that is a little better.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. And that's a really, really good question. And we have suggested that to Canvas many times, and lots of other people have around the world. And we hope that someday Canvas will add that. But it would really be helpful for both us and the students if we could go into a course and search for a piece of content. There is a way that you can suggest that, or you can add your vote to an ongoing discussion about that in the Canvas community group that everybody who uses Canvas is a part of. And I'm trying to think if I have that link saved Otherwise, I'm going to have to go search for it. I think I'd have to go search for it. I don't want to take your all's time right now to do that.
That's all right. I can
But I will find that link. No, I'll find that link for you. And that is one of that's one of the hot topics right now in there. And you could go in and you can add your vote to that.
That's the reason that I brought that up is because for the longest time I didn't use modules. And when we were doing Blackboard, I did the same thing. I put everything on one page so students could search. And without a search function, the modules can be a mess, in my opinion. But, you know, they work really well, too, because then they know what week to go to.
Right. But I hear you. We really need that search button. We could use Canvas for so many other things if we had a search button.
I'll tell you what, if Marnie is willing to wait, I'm willing to wait if you want to search right now for it and put it in chat.
Well, probably best to get some of it because I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to find that. I got to go.
Oh, okay.
I've got to go mine my old emails.
Oh, it's not an internet search.
No, it's not an internet search.
Okay.
I have the link because I have a link that lists 4 things that are hot topics right now that people at the SDCCD would like to see, and one of those is the search button, and you can go right in and vote for it without having to navigate through a bunch of junk. So I need to find that link for you, and I will do so. And I have you, I know who was here, and I have your emails, so I will send that link to you. Okay? How about another question that doesn't require me to mind my email?
Well, definitely include me because you know I've got
I'll send it to everybody who was in this meeting.
Okay. My question's about grade book.
Okay.
Again, I have not used Canvas or anything for 2 years, so I set up my grade book, and my class is supposed to be face to face. Okay, but the first 3 weeks, they made us go online.
Indeed, and might again at any time.
I know.
Just don't know.
I created under assignments, and it shows up in my grade book.
Right.
Which I can share with you.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you share it? Let me make that possible for you. Go ahead and share your screen, if you don't mind. Remember, this is being recorded. Would you prefer I stop the recording now?
Yeah, why don't you stop it because it's got student names.
I'm going to stop. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to pause the recording.
Okay. Well, it's just you and me anyway now.
Okay, now we're recording again.
Okay. 2 years ago, when I was working in Canvas face-to-face classes, I had a development shell. I had learned more about Canvas. So as I updated, I moved from my development shell to the current spring 2020 semester.
Right.
All right. Then as the semester went along, I kept improving my semester class.
Right.
So then what I did at the end of the semester is I then exported that to the development shell.
Back into the development shell, exactly.
Yes, so the development shell got updated with my latest ideas at that time.
And indeed, if you don't want a mixture of new and old, what you can do is reset the development shell before you do the copy. So you get just what was in the live shell at the end of the semester.
Okay, and I did it 2 years ago, so I don't remember. But this semester, I'm teaching a class I haven't taught since 2009.
Yeah.
So I will do the same thing this semester. I will transfer from this semester's Canvas shell to the development shell, and I will contact you for a reminder.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that's an excellent strategy.
It works because you start out with a development shell, but then as you're using it, you come up with, oh, wait, I should do this.
This is a good idea, yeah. And you want that to be in your next semester's shell. You can always copy content from instead of copying from a development shell, you can copy from last semester's shell as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And you don't, a course copy doesn't copy student enrollments or submissions or grades or anything. It just copies the content.
yeah, and that's what
So
I
you
did.
can always do that, but I like the idea of having an up-to-date development shell because I know nothing's going to happen to that. Because I'm the only one who ever touches the development shell.
Right.
And no untoward event in PeopleSoft is going to blow that shell away. So it's real comfort to know that you have something that only you have access to.
And thank you very much. And thank you for the link on how to update my Zoom.
You are
I have saved that to my computer, and I will do that later today.
Yeah, there's lots of new features in Zoom if you haven't updated in a while. It gets better all the time, and we are going to be you'll get yet more capability when we migrate our Confer Zoom accounts to the local control by the SDCCD instead of with Tech Connect at the State Chancellor's office.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get control of our own Zoom accounts. The dean will be the administrator. Brian Weston, our online dean, will be the administrator, and we can he has the capability to customize the settings in Zoom and the resources in Zoom to better suit our needs. So we're going to have even better Zoom accounts. That's going to happen July 1st.
Oh, okay. My birthday.
Well, a birthday present.
One of the things that's interesting to me is that my class is like 12:45 to 2:45, and there are some meetings that while I'm in the classroom before I go home, I want to access a Zoom course like yours today.
Right.
Nobody can tell me if there's a microphone on those classroom computers.
Oh boy.
This is funny.
I get myself a little USB microphone, a headset, or you can get them from Amazon that are just a few dollars, and you just plug it into the computer, and you'll know there's a microphone in there.
Right.
Carry it with you.
Yeah, and the other thing is I did buy the USB Connect speaker.
Yeah.
I can't hear everybody in the meetings. They're doing better now since in the meetings, I kept pointing out that microphone thing.
Yeah.
They're doing better, but apparently you can't have the external microphone and the computer microphone speakers at the same time. And so I haven't figured out how to turn off the other one to be able to use the new one.
You can plug USB speakers in along with the separate USB microphone and use them both. You may have
not microphone, speaker.
A speaker, that's what I mean. You can have multiple USB devices. In Zoom, you may have to select. You may have to tell Zoom to use that speaker. Okay. Let me share my screen real quick, my Zoom screen. If you go to your little microphone icon down here,
yeah,
and the little menu button next to it,
yep,
you have a list. If you have more than one microphone or speaker, you have a list of them, and you can select the one you want to use.
Oh, okay.
So right now, I'm using my Realtek, the speaker plugged into my speaker jack, but I can use like speaker in my TV.
Okay.
Now you're coming out of my TV.
Oh, okay.
And you can't tell that, but you are.
Right, because every once in a while I'm still in meetings.
And it takes a second for it to fix. Oops, I picked the wrong.
Not too often, but I still every
It
once
wasn't
in a while.
connected. But so you can select the speaker and the microphone you want to use if you have more than one.
Yeah, people are doing a lot better now.
That's good. Yeah, that's true. I haven't had very many people at all to not be audible in a Zoom. And we do, in part, I'll take a little bit of credit for that. We do occasionally do a professional development session on improving your audio in Zoom.
Oh, good. My students in my face-to-face class, when I call on them or they ask questions, I've had a devil of a time getting them to speak loud enough.
Yeah.
We have masks on, But I keep
Right,
telling
they're
them,
muffled and it's hard to understand to
well,
start
not
with.
just that, but even if they drop their mask, a lot of them are so soft. And I keep telling them, this is a business class. If I can't hear you, your boss can't hear you. If your boss can't hear you, they're going to figure you don't know the
Yeah,
answer.
your boss may be my age and hard of hearing, and you just
Right.
find another one look just like you, and sound better.
And one of my students came up to me and he had a really interesting perspective on it. He
Hmm.
said that he personally thought it was because everybody's out of practice. They aren't used
Legitimate
to talking about
theory,
They're
yeah.
just like me talking to you. I don't know if I'm too loud or not.
No, you're perfect.
Thank you.
But I can adjust that. I can adjust my speakers, but
Well, I
my
have
speaker
somebody.
volume.
I tend to talk this loud anyway. Like if I'm at a table in a restaurant, I'll
Well,
talk.
trust me.
And I have a friend that keeps wanting me to quiet down. You're too loud.
Well, I appreciate it because my hearing is sure isn't what it never was much, and it ain't getting any better.
Oh, mine is interesting. I find most of the problems is when people run their words together.
Yeah,
They don't enunciate. So anyway, thank you very much.
my pleasure. Enjoyed having you today.
Thank you, and you have a great summer.
You too.
2 weeks left. Oh my.
Well, we'll be going right through the summer, so
Okay. You
we'll
take
be
care.
here. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.